It was a great role. It was an amazing opportunity to sort of reinvent myself back in Europe, in my home country, because I had been known for maybe 15 years playing romantic leads and comedy. And, you know, that's one of the great attractions, obviously, about being an actor, is that you can take on different roles, hopefully. I mean, a lot of people I know just want to do the same thing, but it's just never been it's never been of interest to me. I just want to keep shape-shifting, and this was just a really intriguing role. I liked the idea of playing an action hero. I hadn't done it. You know, I started to go gray and thought maybe this is how I live out my midlife crisis. I become an action hero. Other people don't have that opportunity in life. They just buy a Porsche, but I choose to kind of, you know, become the commander-in-chief of a, you know, counter-terrorism unit.
Stabat Mater is a large-scale choral orchestral work that uses the traditional medieval Latin texts interspersed with modern English poetry. The Latin texts, sung by the chorus, are a powerful poetic narrative of Mary standing at the foot of the cross, reflecting on the suffering of her dying son. One of the things I wanted to achieve in this work was, in some sense, to disperse the surface religiosity and get to the core humanistic content. Here is a parent enduring her own emotional agony, watching helplessly as her child dies. These texts are deeply moving in their own right, but to find modern parallels, I used 3 20th century poems by mothers who had lost children under a variety of adverse and tragic circumstances. I set those for soprano soloist and a smaller, more intimate chamber group.
Well, I look back at that journey from what it used to be, the High Museum Richard Meyer building, to the Renzo Piano and Richard Meyer High Museum of today. I would say that it's a sense of great pride that I look at that expansion, because it has brought to our table capabilities that we never dreamed of. And I think we really did answer the call of the 100 plus names that are on those granite slabs out there in front. We did answer their call. We did achieve greatness. We do have a major art focus for Atlanta that the world now recognizes.
A person's experience and the emotions they feel when participating in our event often determine how engaged they become with our organization. If we can create a more personal experience, we can increase recruitment of walkers and donors, leading to more funds raised for our mission. In this section, we'll discuss some of the key ways we are using online fundraising to create that personal and emotional connection.
Today, we will share our online fundraising areas of focus for 2014. You'll hear about proven strategies we need to remain focused on, as well as some new strategies that will further engage participants once they're registered.
From the moment our participants register, we want to pull them in and engage them with the American Heart Association, ultimately leading to more funds raised. In a few moments, you'll hear about the powerful new ways we're reaching out to our participants in a more personal way than ever before.
When television started to really become popular and the movies had to respond with something, one of the responses was to widen the screen, Cinerama. And Fox, Spiros Skouras, the president of Fox at the time, decided to patent an old anamorphic squeeze process that had been developed in 1926 by a French scientist, Dr. Chrétien. So they got the rights to that, and what it did was it took a regular picture and squeezed it twice, and then in projection squeezed it back out, and it ended up with a format aspect ratio of about 2:4 to 1. Fox became so convinced that it was the way to release all their films that they mandated that so many films would be made that way. But there were technical problems with the CinemaScope lenses at the time. It was a dual lens system. There was the regular lens that was traditional, which was a spherical lens. And then there was another attachment, which was the Jean Chrétien attachment, which went in front of it and provided the squeeze. And both of those lenses had to be focused separately. It's called a hypergonal system. And the first generation of them, required 2 focus pullers. The problem with the lenses were inherent in trying to integrate the anamorphic elements into the regular lens. And what happens is as a character moves closer to the screen, gets larger in the screen, the anamorphic squeeze becomes diminished. It's less effective. So they're less squeezed, so that when it's then unsqueezed in projection, the face starts to get wider in order to maintain the aspect ratio. And that's called the anamorphic mumps. And you see it a lot in the extreme close-ups in The Innocents. Especially if they're on the edge of the frame, you see this sort of slightly bloated face. I mean, it's not uninteresting, especially for a film like this, that is sort of a Gothic film. It's sort of an effective device, even though it's kind of primitive and it was considered a fault.